Okay, we are live now. This is my first time going live through the YouTube studio. Sorry for the the mess that is my room. It didn't show up on the Kickstarter video because I was facing my computer. These are some donations that I still need to sort through. And then I have my massive amount of, I've seen more. Or I've seen larger stashes. We have yarn here and down here, and then back there behind there. And then I have my printer, my 3D printer, my sewing machine, and just a bunch of random stuff because I like to make things. So today, I don't know how many viewers we're gonna get. I'm a very small channel. I do need to post on the Facebook event that we are doing this. So that would be good to do. So I launched my Kickstarter last night, technically. I launched at midnight, so it'll run from midnight to midnight, or Central Standard Time, which is my time zone. And then how do I get the link to the actual stream? The thumbnail right now is me pointing behind me. Okay, I'm just going to share, copy, add a post. And then I can't see the chat while I'm doing this, so no one's here anyway, so it's fine. It's fine. I'm a lot more used to streaming on Twitch. Over there, I have 150 people or whatever. I haven't streamed in a while though. So it's whatever. Can I pop out the chat in case someone? Because I always act a little weird if I can see my face on camera. Just want to pop out the chat. Okay, great. Thank you. Make that half the screen. There we go. Okay, that's much better. I would also usually be playing music, but I might want to. I don't know how YouTube does with clips. If I was to do that, I might have to do it through OBS. I didn't think about that. Okay. Oh, I'm just gonna post that with the wrong account. I need to change my profile picture. On Facebook, my author profile has the same profile photo as my regular account. Okay, there we go. Jesus. You know, one has my pen name, one doesn't. So it's like, but yeah. Right now for the campaign, I am sitting at, I think it's like 55 or 56% funded. We're at 278 of the $500 goal so far. So yeah, I'm very excited. I was actually surprised, like kind of like right after I launched it, there was like at least one person one person so far that backed it that I don't actually know who they are, but I was looking at their profile and apparently they're like a super backer. So they just go around like backing different campaigns and stuff, which I wanted to check that because like I think it said on their profile because like Kickstarter gives you like a little pie on your profile and it shows like, okay, so they've done 4 art campaigns, 14 games, 28 publishing. Honestly, I would probably end up doing the same. Ooh, what's in the food category? Is that like recipe books or ooh, the Legends cookbook? That kind of looks like Legend of Zelda-ish. I guess they're like it's like coffee brands or cookbooks. I would probably do cookbook just because like then I get something, and especially if it sounds really good. Um, I don't know. I'm kind of a completionist when it comes to like games and stuff. So like, you know, you give me a pie chart or like a pie, like I might just go in and try to fill it out. Like mine right now has 3 on publishing and that's it. But yeah, there's like technology, art. I mean, it's like everything up here. So art, comics, crafts. What's under crafts? Crochet, DIY, weaving, printing. There's a lot of stuff that you can do. You can get a knife tool, quilts, glass. There's dance, design, fashion, film, food, games, journalism. See, fashion, I'd probably just be looking for like, um, I'd probably just be looking for like tools that people make in order to design things. Because there's a lot of them out there for that like cosplayers can use and stuff. Because I cosplay, hence the the what's it called? A wig over there, which is Gyrus from Game of Swords or Room of Swords, not Game of Thrones, Room of Swords. Um, but yeah, I hope that gets funded. Yeah, I funded or I've backed 3 different campaigns so far. Um, one of which was a friend's book that they were trying to do a Kickstarter campaign, which uh, didn't end well, but the book's out now, so at least it got published eventually. Just the Kickstarter itself, just I guess was like a format that didn't really work that well for her, at least in the way that she was trying to do it. And then we have the Titan's Nest saga, which I saw like while I was like building my Kickstarter campaign, and I was like, oh, dragons, dragons. Yes, I will back dragons because like I also have a dragon book. Not as many dragons in my book. Like, I mean, I would say I think at least from what I read of the synopsis and stuff, their dragons are a lot more active because they're like basically like werewolf style, like biting people, uh, to like turn them into or like to gain this like connection with them, which I find hilarious that they have to bite them. because like my dragons can do the same in a certain way. It's just like they can bestow their blessing upon either a human or just like any race really, and it completely changes their essence, which has to do with like their very being, their very like core of what they are, not necessarily who they are. Because, you know, and that's something that I touch upon in my book with, or like the first book with like, you know, just because your species or whatever is seen as like a fiend versus fae, like that doesn't necessarily mean that you're bad. Like it doesn't mean that you can't do good. You know, like banshees in my world are considered fiends. So would succubi, but like, you know, I have like a small family of banshees that are very nice people. Like they're not very like bad. They're just like historically banshees are seen as like harbingers of death, you know, like wherever they go death follows or whatever. And it's like to a certain extent I can understand that. But like in the world of Lyra, a lot of species are very misunderstood, and banshees are one of them. Like they don't cause death unless they're like, you know, trying to use their scream in a combative way, which most do not, unless they're like, you know, it's a form of self-defense or something. But yeah, like for like comparatively with the dragons and stuff in my book, there's like only I want to say 6 to like 8 dragons left in the entire world. There used to be a lot more, of course, but a lot of them died during one of the wars. So now there's like only a few left. I don't know why it was giving me a notification. Oh, okay. I think it was that many. Let me check my notes. Because there's the Dragon of the North, the Dragon of the South, Izmir, or you have like Ervi, Raverna, Izmir, Bukala, the water one, which I need to double check that I didn't accidentally name it after the god of water. Because their names are kind of similar. Where is my folder? I have so many notes. I started this book, or the base idea for it, when I was in 8th grade, taking a creative writing class. Basically, we had like a assignment at the end of the year to write a 6-chapter book, but knowing me, I can't do that. So I wrote like the first 6 chapters. Each chapter was about like 2 pages long. And then I was like, to be continued over the summer. And then I didn't touch it for a while. But yeah, that was probably wasn't even 5,000 words. And then like I finished writing the whole book, or maybe I like rewrote from the beginning, finished writing the outline or like writing through the outline and everything. And that was probably, I don't know, 20,000 words. And then I did, or maybe that was the 30,000 word one. Maybe it was less. I can't remember. It's gone through so many different renditions or like so many different like revisions over the years. I did like a full rewrite at least once, which was probably the whole like these 2 pages need to be turned into like 10 pages because like 2 pages for a chapter is way too short unless you are stylistically making it like a page or 2 or whatever, just because there's like maybe one small scene that happens in that chapter or something, which I've seen authors do that. That's not that uncommon to have like one really short chapter, or especially like towards the end when you're like, I just need a couple scenes and a couple chapters to like wrap up these loose ends, and then we can, because like, what's going on with this person? Oh, I didn't wrap up that loose end. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, what was I looking for? My notes. Not in this folder. It's the next one, I think. Yeah, my lower writing page. That has all the gods on it. Okay, dragons. Oh, okay, no. So Trefun is the goddess of water. The water dragon that's in the series is Pleiades. So it's Izmir, the Ashen, who's a fire dragon. Pleiades, the drowned, who's a water dragon. Bukala, the hunter, which he's the only one that has like fur. And I don't really picture him with wings. I picture him more as like a worm or whatever. Like, like maybe he can like fly, but like he lives more in like the deserty kind of like area where it's very like hunter more than gather kind of society. But yeah, like I need to like build up their personalities. Not that we like see any of the other, well, other than maybe Magni at the end. Oh yeah, okay. So the number includes the two arch dragons. That's what it was. I was like, that seems too many. So you have a fire dragon, water dragon, I guess maybe earth dragon, for Bukala. You have Ervi the frostbit, who's a ice dragon. Raverna the gilded, which is more of a metal dragon. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5. And then you have Magni the destroyer and Cirrus the protector. And those two are arch dragons that kind of have taken on the roles of the god of life and the god of death. But one's basically imprisoned and the other one doesn't really do shit because, god of life can't kill things. So she kind of just hangs out with the angels and doesn't really do anything. What beads do I want for this? Sorry, I'm like working on. I'm very scattered brained as usual. I also need to eat, which I have food, but I'm sorry. I was working on this a little bit. I just need to put the tie in, and then I need to put the beads that go on the tie, and then I'll have a little dice bag done. I make these, and they're going to be up on my shop. I do have some on my shop right now on Bunny Mead, but this is a new color. I'm using that new yarn, which is called like, I think it's like Summerfield Ombre or something, which I don't like the name of it. So on my website, I call this retrograde because it reminds me of like, or I had someone tell me the other day, it reminded them of like some like 60s like kind of style, like shag carpet or something. But I really like the colors. They just remind me of kind of like retro sort of aesthetic. But yeah, so I have like these little jars of beads that I sort through. There's only a couple different colors, so it's not like too hard to be like, okay, well, what will look best with this? That would be fine. And then because I'm using yarn and not thread, I have like a threader that I use, which I felt very smart for figuring this out of like, oh, I can just use some sewing implements to help, like finish this. So I have a little threader. And it's because like if I'm using say like a needle, like a tapestry needle or something, it can't fit through the tiny holes. So you just do this, and then it's on there. And then you stick all your threads through the top and then pull through. I try not to like stick it too far through this, like the threads, just because like it makes it a lot harder to pull through versus if you just have the tip in, then it makes it a lot easier. Yeah. And then I just do a couple knots and then cut it, and then it should be good. But yeah. I love creating things, so that's why I have like my online shop. And I do like in-person events and stuff here in Kansas where I live. And honestly, that's where most of those like sales come from. So, you know, I'm not averse from being like, oh, okay, well, I just need to order copies of my book and take them to events, and that's fine with me. I've actually been surprised, like reading up on different like author events and stuff, and like the duration of them. Like a lot of them, like say if you're doing like a signing at like one of the Barnes and Nobles here or whatever, you're only scheduled to be there for like 2 hours, which, you know, if you've ever been to like a farmer's market or like a craft market or something, those can go for like, I don't know, like 6 hours or something. Like they go for a while. And so I was like, 2 hours at a table, and I just need to bring like books and maybe some signage uh, in an air conditioned, you know, building. That's easy enough. I can handle that. Because, like, if you don't know a lot about me, which most people on here, if you're seeing this, probably don't, like, I have autism and like general anxiety and probably a little of like the ADHD mind meld BS. Uh, so it's just like finding something that is something that I can handle. Which before, I mean, I would just go to things and I'd be like, oh, that was very tiring. I don't know if I can do that again. So like, you know, kind of learning my limits that way by like overextending, which is not healthy. But, you know, you live and you learn. And sometimes I'll like break past a limit, like when I'm um, like cosplaying or working on cosplay to the point where I'll feel like very burnt or like burnt and I'll tell myself like, yeah, no, we can't do that again. Uh, so like massive con crunch and stuff does not work for me. So yeah. I put these little like ones that have a bit more wood grain on them, which I really do like those ones. I do have some that have like less of a wood grain. It's more of they're just like stained, but they're in different colors to like kind of fit a bit better. But honestly, the colors that look the best with like this wood grain one are the ones that I like. So it's meant to be kind of like a dragon egg or like some sort of like scale kind of bag for dice. It can hold about like 10 sets of dice in it, and it'll stretch out a little bit over time, but it's pretty sturdy. And then I would not recommend doing that really tiny dice because there are like slight holes and stuff like in between the scales, and they might escape your dice hoard. So they might run away from you, which would not be good. Okay. I'm gonna clean up this stuff. I do have some other crochet stuff that I can work on while we're on stream. And one of the things that I liked about doing Twitch streaming back in the day was just like kind of the just chatting streams and stuff. Like talking to people was always like the most fun part. Like if I was just like sitting alone for, I don't know, 6 hours or whatever, that doesn't end up being too much fun unless I'm having fun playing whatever game I was playing or whatever. Oh, I can show you guys the other color I got done. These ones I use the wood green for too. It kind of, my friend said it kind of reminds them of like an organ. It's damask ombre for the lily sugar and cream color. It kind of does remind me of like a heart. It's just because of like the browns and the reds and the pinks and stuff. Like it's like, you know, if it was like like a heart or some kind of like meat organ. But yeah, I'm gonna be prepping for like a event that me and my friends are gonna be doing on Halloween here in town. So that'll be fun. We're gonna be making a bunch of different stuff for that, including the dice bags and stuff. So right now I'm just like trying to get through my yarn stash. Most of the yarn I have has like something attached to it in terms of like an idea of like what I want to use it for. This in particular is going to be one of the items. You can see the yarn. I just need to weave in the ends. This was using Passionate Goods, Kelsey, her pattern for hexagon cardigans. I really like how it turned out. I have right there, I have like 2 more colors that I want to do. I only have 2 skeins of those though, so we'll see if I can like make something as big, because this one's like an extra large, or it's supposed to be an extra large according to like her sizing chart. But yeah, the thing that I'm the worst about is just like adding things to my website. It's like I'll make things and then I'll be like, but then I have to stop and then I have to, you know, take photos and put everything on the website. You could say that that's like my least favorite part. But yeah. I have like some footage and stuff of like me working on the map for my book that I still need to upload as well. I was gonna maybe do like a voiceover, but I need to make like a script or something of like, I don't know if I should like talk about the world or do like a Q&A or what. I don't know. I might brainstorm with my friends a little bit on that. Or if you have any opinion of what kind of video you'd like to see, then, you know, comment on this video and I will definitely take a look. But yeah, so Banshee Scream, just overall, is the first book that I've ever written. I do have a lot of other book ideas that I keep either like in my Notion or, you know, physically just writing down little like tidbits of ideas. The book series for Banshee Scream and the subsequent books, that will be a 5-book series. I was going to do 6 books, but then I was thinking about like the last 2 and I was like, okay, unless I do like a major like cliffhanger right before the last book or whatever, then I don't think I have enough to, or I don't think I will have enough content like in an outline to make sense of like, or like to make it make sense, you know, to have 2 separate books. So I dropped it down to 5 because I was like, I think that will work better. And if the last book is maybe a little bit longer, that's fine. Other than that, I have a couple standalone books that I've been kind of like outlining and like dissecting a little bit in terms of ideas. I was wanting to write kind of like a prequel novel to like this current series, which I talk about a little bit in like the Kickstarter, like I think it was the series heading. I could probably just read it off. Story. Yeah, so it says Banshee Scream is set to be book 1 in a 5-part series set in Lyra. I've also thought about doing other stories set in that world to really flesh out bits and pieces that we don't get to visit in the series. Because, like, I think the majority of the books are spent in Belvoir, and then there's, which is like the continent, or not the continent, the country that they start in. And then I think the 4th book we go to another country, and then in the 5th book we're in another country on another continent. So like the first 3 are in Belvoir. But yeah, like I have like how many different countries? There's Avalar, Serra, Escus, the Darklands, Canu, Belvoir. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6, and we only get to go to like 3, basically, if that. Get to see very small amounts of like the other 2 that we go to. So like, I think it would be nice to have other books to like really flesh out the world a bit more. But yeah, I was wanting to do kind of like a murder mystery kind of book. Set in Eros, which is in Avalar, which is the eastern isle or islands or whatever, however land masses work. I forget at this moment. If I had to pick a country that I like the most, honestly, I think I like the aesthetic of Avalar the most. But that's because, like, in my head, I'm like, yeah, that's like Japan, basically. Not in like a very strict way. It's kind of like a mixture of like I would. Oh, I hear the cat. I might have to grab the cat. It's like a mixture of like there are some Japanese kind of inspired stuff. It's like the island of islands, if anything, because it's like there's like a little bit of like Greek kind of mythology mixed in there. There's a little bit of like kind of Celtic and Irish mythology because that's like the homeland of like the Banshees. And then there's like a bit of kind of like Japanese or like, you know, just those like smaller like Asian nations kind of like mixed in there as well. Because they have kits who are basically like they're wares, but they're more kind of like kitsunes. They're also biologically a bit different. They live longer than wares. They also have innate magic to them, and they can't fully transform like wares can. So there's those that were like persecuted for a long time there. Some of which were even burned at the stake. Because, you know, people be doing weird shit when they don't understand what you are. But yeah, and then that and other reasons are kind of like why banshees sort of stay away from the rest of the people. But then there's also like satyrs and just like a whole bunch of stuff. It's kind of like it's a very interesting dynamic that I've created, at least in my opinion. They have that. Over in the Darklands, you have more like succubi, demons. You might get the occasional like banshee or like other themed races. You have a larger quantity of imps that live there, and in particular, have kind of evolved over time. Because I don't think I really explained what imps look like because I'm still trying to figure that out for myself. Like when I was drawing little like reference photos, I made them seem kind of like frogs almost, but they have wings and they have like little tufts of fur, and maybe like one eyeball or their eyes are like covered or whatever. But yeah, they basically just like fly around and like eat pollution. So if you're like burning logs in a fire for your stove or something, then they will come over the chimney and start kind of sucking up the smog, basically like the smoke from your chimney, and that's what they feed on. But in the Darklands, there's a lot more pollution. So the ones there, they do have wings, but they're not usable because they're so huge. They basically engorged themselves on the food, the buffet, as it were. Whereas the ones that are in Belvoir and stuff that we get to kind of like hear about, they are a lot leaner. They're a lot smaller. They don't have as many issues. They're also like not very dangerous, I guess I could say. But yeah. I feel like whenever someone else like writes about a fantasy world, like okay, taking like Tolkien and putting him in a corner by himself, because that man was obsessed about his world to a degree that I may never know. Because eventually, I will be turning the page on Lyra, but I hope that it still, stays with people that read the series and like the world that I've created. But people give an air of like, oh, I have this whole world mapped out and stuff. And I'm like, I'm still world building for myself. Like, building a world is hard. Like, I want to still have that air of like, oh, I can discover things that are new in my world. And then I have to kind of reframe it in my brain of like, oh, well, the characters wouldn't have known about this because a lot of people don't know about it. So it's not like it's taught in schools or whatever. But like also I like the idea of having even some of the teachers and stuff like at Belgarum and everything, like kind of being unreliable narrators of the world's history because they're being taught what they were taught. They're teaching what they were taught. They're teaching what was written down. They're teaching someone's opinion of the facts and how because like, and that kind of happens in real life too. I mean, you report about a battle, or you have the facts of like around this many people died. This group won. Here were the casualties on both sides. Here were the weapons used, that kind of stuff. But you don't have like firsthand accounts of like what happened behind closed doors and what people talked about and strategized and stuff until you like see it in action. So I like the idea of like people with like fleeting lifespans don't know exactly how the world works or how certain things came to be. They can learn about it, but they have to kind of be like told it, I guess, by like someone else. Such as people that have been alive that long. Of which there's still, a few around. But yeah, I'm very excited for this Kickstarter. I'm very excited to get my book into my own little grubby hands, as well as into the hands of people who are excited to read my world. I honestly, the thing that I think I'm most excited about is just getting a copy of my own book and like being able to put it on my shelf and like be like, yeah, that one's mine. I wrote that. Because I think that that's really cool that we're, as humans, able to come up with these, worlds or timelines or whatever. And we're just able to kind of like, especially nowadays, it's like so much easier to self publish in terms of like, you just have to find someone to print. Like, use Amazon for on demand, Ingram Sparks, Barnes and Noble, whatever. Or, if tariffs weren't a thing right now, I would have probably looked at some manufacturers in China, or printers in China, I guess I should say, just because that probably would have been a lot, cheaper if we weren't having tariffs and issues, and if America wasn't burning, as it were. Sorry, I haven't eaten breakfast yet. This is my only food for the day so far. But yeah, it's just like you could literally, create a book, and then you have the manuscript, you have the cover, whether you drew it yourself or commission someone, whatever. And then you just take it to like Amazon, and then you don't even necessarily have to like publish it. I think you can just like order yourself a copy, like an author copy or whatever, and you can just have your book. And it's amazing. The amount of like, I wouldn't say hand holding, but like just like, because there's a lot that goes into self publishing. There are a lot of people online though also that will give you like some great advice. You just kind of have to like cherry pick what applies to you, I guess, because like some people like won't be the most helpful, but others like actually care enough to answer your questions and stuff. It just depends on the person. Like I've looked at like r/self-publishing a lot, mostly as a lurker, just because I'm like, okay, what are people talking about in here? Like people talking about like going wide versus being exclusive with like Amazon. I, for one, am planning on going wide, just because I don't want to be beholden to Amazon, as well as whatever other platform, if, like Karen or someone decides to like try to like ban my book, you know, there's nothing horrible about my book in terms of like any needed trigger warnings or whatever. It's like your standard, fantasy violence, a little bit of blood and gore, nothing like too extreme, because it is dark fantasy, but it's also young adult, and so like I want anywhere from like middle schoolers to high schoolers to people my age and maybe a little bit up, to be able to read and enjoy the book and the series. I'm trying to think of what to say. It's hard to talk just for like to the void for like an hour and still have more to say. Uh, like I can go on rants and stuff forever. It's just like it's a lot easier if people are like asking me questions. Because then I'm like, oh, let me go on a tangent for this for 30 minutes. Let's see. I can just come up with a topic. The process of self-publishing. So, like I said, I started with the idea and kind of like a very short outline in 8th grade. And then I picked it back up my freshman year of college, which was 2018. And it's 2025 now. So, of course, I wasn't like writing every day for that span of time. I was like, I picked it up, was going back over it, had to kind of like put a pin in it for a while, especially towards the end. Because I had like a job during college that I was like also kind of working on my novel at the time. Because I was working at like a retail place at the time. And then I'm trying to remember. So there was that. I ended up quitting that job about a year after I started. Mostly because I wanted to like focus on school, but also like focus on my novel and work on it more. But also because they like treated me like shit, especially because like I had gotten like my COVID vaccine and I felt like shit. Like I was like my body was like very sore. I could like barely move, and I needed to like run around the store and like stock things or whatever. And like my manager was just like not being compassionate or empathetic at all. And so like I was like, yeah, no, this is not a great fit for me. I was also getting paid like shit, and I remember she like scheduled me for like 8 hours or something, or like for 4 hours or whatever for like one of my paychecks. And so it was just like, I can't live off that. Like, I'm not using this job to like have money to live on, but I was like using it so that I wasn't like using up my savings for school and everything, like as quickly as I would be otherwise, like if I didn't have that job. But yeah, so I did that. I focused on school and focused a bit more on writing. And then senior year came, and I like towards. So I graduated in December of 21. I got my like first job out of college around that time, like a little bit more into fall of that year. And so that took up a lot of my time. And when I went full time with that job after I had graduated, I just like didn't have a lot of time. It was very mentally exhausting, like long hours, especially we got like a new employee that like kind of made my life a living hell. So I didn't do much around that time. It was mostly just like working, surviving, doing whatever. And then I was laid off from that job because I don't know, the reason that they gave me was like money issues, which seeing how they ran the place didn't surprise me. Um, so I got let go from that job about like a year after I started. It was also a startup, and most startups like basically fail within like their first year or two. So again, didn't really surprise me too much. I mean, it surprised me a lot in the moment. Like I was like, I could feel like my eye and my face like twitching, being like, are you fucking kidding me?" Like kind of thing. But yeah, so I left that job. I worked like a couple other jobs in between like that one and my current job. And my current job is great because I have a lot more free time. I have a lot more flexibility with my schedule. It works a lot better for my brain and the type of like routine or non-routine that I need. Um, but yeah, so since then I've been kind of, well, I not like immediately. I was like, oh, new job, working on book now. I like it took me a while to kind of get back into it. And then, like I mentioned earlier, like helping a close friend with their book, kind of re-sparked the whole like, oh, I could be working on my book kind of thing, and like doing like edits and like line edits and stuff for that. Um, like I was like, oh, this is a lot of work, but you know, I feel like working on my stuff too. So, because I'm seeing like her work come together into a more publishable version. Like I need to, like after I'm done with this, I need to go work on mine. So that wasn't actually too long ago because her book came out in I think March or May or something. Um, I think I finished with like edits and stuff. It took me like 3 months to work on edits for that. Because when I work on edits, I do it very in depth, if you know what I mean. Um, but yeah, it took me like 3 months of work to make it through that book. And then I turned around to work on my, or like work or read through and work on edits for my book. And I was like, oh, that took me a couple weeks. Like, because I had already been through like so many rough drafts, and I just like, I had put like so much distance between me and like the previous drafts that I was like, I don't even know what my current version of my book looks like at this point. So it was just like, it was interesting to kind of see like, okay, so this one is probably more first, second draft overall. Mine was like third, fourth draft probably at that point. So it's just like seeing the differences uh, between like the two of our books and stuff, which was definitely interesting. Like I like learning about people's processes and like how they go about things. Like lately, I've been kind of listening up, I guess, on like the whole like Audra Winters stuff that's going on, which I'm like, she's a new author. I'm a new author. I want her to do well, but like at the end of the day, with like how I was like listening to things and people's like analysis of like her writing process and stuff, rewriting a book from beginning to end instead of going in and doing like revising a scene, revising a chapter, but still keeping the same manuscript, doesn't get you to the same endpoint. Because, like, you know, if you're rewriting the same fan fiction over and over again from, you know, beginning to end, then yes, you've written 5 fan fictions, but they are all roughly in the same shape with the same content, written slightly differently. Like, there's definitely going to be major overlap to the point where, like, if someone were to put them into like a plagiarism machine, they'd score pretty high, you know, maybe 70-80% in terms of like content, whatever. Like, I don't know how much she was changed. Like, it was just like, I hadn't seen like the whole timeline of events. Because, like, I did end up following Audra on TikTok, and I was like, oh, like, great marketing. You know, seems interesting. Like, I like that. I love that you're paying artists potentially, hopefully, what they deserve to be paid. But then I just kept seeing like people bringing up the whole thing of like, care about the art, you need to have the same kind of energy for the writing. But yeah, I don't know. She's kind of in troubled waters right now, I would say. Like, if she can make it through the other side with like an actual like decent or half decent product that's gone through revisions rather than rewriting the book again from front to like, I understand, but also don't understand the wording of, oh, I've written 10 books. If I like, because basically if you were to conflate that with like my work, I've written my book like, I don't know, 2 or 3 times at least, because there was like 8th grade version, rewriting that entirely. So that's 1, 2. You know, potentially rewriting that entirely. Basically, you know, which with that, it's not even like, oh, I'm rewriting it entirely from like top to bottom. I'm like going into that, maybe like copy and pasting everything onto a new file on Google Drive or whatever. And then like putting some spaces like underneath or whatever, and then basically like reading what the paragraph was and then rewriting the paragraph and then deleting the old paragraph. So I'm like, it's still revision, but it's like kind of like rewriting the entire thing when you're not just going in and like, you know, changing out a word. You're like rewriting an entire sentence so that it sounds different and better and stuff. But yeah, so like by that logic, I've written 2 or 3 books. But I would still say, you know, I've written 1 book. I've written many short stories, like from working on my creative writing minor. Because, like, I do share some similarities with Audra in terms of, like, I was working on a creative writing minor. I assume she probably got hers. I was, like, 1 class away from getting mine, which was basically just going to be a workshop class with an actual author, which I do wish that I had done, but, like, you know, I have my biology degree. It's fine. I got the most out of that course load that I was probably going to get. So that is fine with me, of how it all shook out. I got better at, you know, taking critique. I still get a little, I don't know if it's like embarrassed, I guess, or like I start cringing at myself, like if I'm like, you know, reading out loud like my work or whatever. I mean, I get the same way. Like if you were to like take this live stream and shove it in my face at like a convention or an event or something, and it's like, hey, so here's this thing that you you said on a live stream, here's this video that you made, it's cringe or whatever. Like, I'd be like, um, don't show me that. I don't want to see my face. I don't want to hear my voice. No. It's like, leave me alone. So it's just like it is a process, like, I have rejection sensitivity. Is that going to stop me from like taking like constructive criticism? No, hopefully not. Hopefully it won't. If there's a glaring grammatical mistake in my book that I just like missed on like 4 or 5 passes through it, like, tell me and I'll fix it. Like, same with like plot holes and stuff. Like, I am actively trying to like make sure that there are no plot holes. It's hard. So many words. I mean, like, if my book was like twice the size it is, like, it would there would definitely be like more than a few things that I skip over. Yeah, because like we're sitting at like 67, or I don't even know if this is correct anymore, but like 67, I have on my whiteboard because I keep track of my word counts. We're sitting at 67,771 words. I think that's also including the appendix, because I do have an appendix for my book, which goes into, or like has like descriptions of some of the races and that are featured in the book, and stuff like that. I think I was like pretty thorough. It also has like kind of a breakdown a little bit of like the magic system and stuff like that. And it has like a list of like the gods and I think what they're the god or goddess of, because it has its own pantheon of 10 separate gods. Why is lemon poppy seed just so good? But yeah, I go off on tangents way too often. If you ever see me at like a signing or something where I actually have to like talk about my book, I will be bringing a script. I will be bringing a script because like I will talk for hours if someone lets me, and I just like the train gets off its tracks and I need someone to pick it up, put it back on the tracks so that we can continue with what we were saying. But yeah, so we were on the topic of self-publishing and I got off on a tangent. And I guess I was relatively going to the same place because I was just talking about like the process of like when I started, when I kind of picked things back up, I was working on it. So like outside of the writing, which is like the main hurdle, I would say, when you're self-publishing, or even when you're traditionally publishing, is the writing. Just getting that done. And then editing is its whole own thing too. Finding a cover artist for me was a little bit hard. I had reached out to a couple artists here and there over the years, just being like, hey, I'm making this book. Would you be interested in maybe doing the cover art for it? And there were a couple that I had gotten interest from. A couple ended up, or like at least one ended up like ghosting me kind of after a while. To be fair, I should have probably waited to reach out to them until I was like done with the book, which like right now I have, cover art for the book, which you can see on the Kickstarter. That it's a really nice cover, and I'm very, very happy with how it came out. It captured the vibe and the colors and everything that I was looking for. But yeah, it was ended up I ended up posting on Blue Sky. I was like, why is it so hard to find a cover artist? And then I got like all of these like people slash bots like in my DMs and stuff being like, hey, I'd love to be I'd love to be like put in the running for it or like considered for it. And I would look at their profiles and I'd be like, oh, you draw VTubers? Or like, I don't need a VTubing avatar. I would like someone who has like some experience drawing covers. Which like for some people I understand, like if you're an actual artist who has put in the time to kind of like build up commissions and stuff, you might be like, oh, I could break into, you know, doing a cover, you know, because why not? Kind of thing. But like I'm also picky when it comes to uh like style and everything too. So like I kind of I didn't respond to like really any of those because I was just like, okay, well I will just look through these, and if I see anything that I really like, I might follow the artist. One person was actually very helpful, and they posted a starter pack for like a bunch of really good artists on Blue Sky, and so I ended up following a bunch of those artists from that pack actually. Um, and I still like their posts and stuff because I was just like, oh, like this person's art style is great. Um, I don't know. I I think I'm like a very like aesthetic like focused person, as you can tell. Like when it comes to like my creative works and stuff. Um, but yeah, so and then another person had like recommended someone from Readsy, which is like basically an online thing where you can basically go to them for like any kind of resource for self-publishing. They'll help you make a website. They'll help you with copy editing, developmental editing, whatever else you need. I think they also have beta reading services and stuff too that you can pay for, um, and you know, cover art and cover design. So I ended up using them to look for artists on there because I was like, well, this person that they recommended doesn't exactly like fit the vibe that I'm going with, but you know, it doesn't hurt to look. So I looked on there and I found May, my cover artist, and you know, I just sent her a message on there. I was like, oh, you know, like this is kind of what I'm thinking. How much would this cost? That kind of stuff. So that was great. I got an actual, you know, contact with a person, with an actual human being, uh, who was willing to draw my cover. But yeah, so that was exciting. And then just like going through all the like editing stages and stuff of like figuring out the composition and everything. Like I really like that level of like hands-onness when it's like, you know, it's not like, oh, this person's saying, oh, this composition and only this composition. It's like, no, here's like 2 or 3 compositions that we could go with. Which one do you like the best, kind of thing. So I really loved that process. That was great, and I'm definitely looking forward to hopefully using May as the cover artist for the whole series, if she's up for it. Just because, like, I think it's very important to have like a series that has like the same artist for each book. Not that you have to do that. You could just have like, especially if you're having someone. So mine was fully illustrated, which is why having the same artist each time is very helpful because it has a sense of continuity. Now, when it comes to like a standalone book or something set outside the world of Lyra, I might think about using another artist just because I don't want it to look like it's part of that series. But I could also talk to May about just like doing a different kind of like style. Like for each of the Lyra books, at least for the series, they're gonna have like a certain color associated with them. Like so for the first book, they're laying in the grass and stuff. Like the first book is green, which is kind of like symbolic of the color that's associated with Melanie's essence, which is green, as she's a banshee. Whereas like Iona's would be red because she's bonded with Izmir, and she's a Dragal, you know. She's basically half dragon, you know, like whereas like Maisie, who's aware, would be like gold because that's the color like her eyes shine, like when her powers get activated, that kind of stuff. And different wares have different colors associated with them as well. But yeah, so for like book 2, it's gonna be more kind of like pinky purplish. You know, kind of like that nice wintry wintry sunset sort of vibe. Um, that I'm really looking forward to as well. I think that'll look really great. And then I still need to, because like I thought about like a composition for book 2 cover. I need to think about the composition for more like book 4 and 5. But I'll also be working with May on that, so we'll kind of brainstorm, which I think is great. I think it's a great process. But yeah, other than cover designer and illustrator, like yeah, what I was gonna say before is if you're using someone to like Mod Podge a bunch of like stock photos together or whatever, so it's not like fully illustrated. It's just kind of like, you know, more realistic. Like, oh, it's just like some flowers that have to do with the book and maybe a sword or something. Like you could potentially use different people for that. Like, say if you know this guy was kind of too expensive for what he gave, this guy can do the same thing but for cheaper. You know, like whatever. Like those kind of covers usually also cost less because it's just like the amount of time that it took to kind of like Photoshop everything together, create a composition, whatever, do edits as needed, you know, color matching, whatever. Plus the price of like the stock photos that that person is using. So that might be a couple $100 at most, maybe. Depends on how expensive the services or the person or whatever and their level of like expertise and stuff. Whereas like an illustrated cover could be up to like a couple $1,000s, just depending on like the amount of experience that the artist has. You know, maybe how busy they are. Like maybe their prices are higher because they have a lot of demand, so they're trying to like lower the demand a little bit and still make a decent amount of money. It just depends. Yeah. Or like around the time when I was getting like the artwork finished and stuff for the book, I also did some of the artwork. Like I made the map, I think, on like Incarnate or something, and then I like, but that was like a few years ago. So I took it and I kind of like traced it to a certain degree just to get like the general like landmass shapes and stuff. But I completely like redid it in Krita, just because like I wanted like some of the names of like the not necessarily the towns, but some of the country names had changed over time. I wanted to make sure that everything was editable because I don't have like that subscription or whatever I was using to Incarnate anymore, or whatever program I was using. But yeah, so like I made the map for the book. I might be doing another couple little like doodles or whatever here and there for like scene changes and stuff. I still need to figure out if I want to do that. I think it would be nice. I just need to see how Scrivener takes me inputting like a photo or something in there for that. But yeah, so I did editing all myself. And then I did formatting as well through Scrivener. Which honestly, like I've seen a lot of people talk about like Atticus and stuff like that. I did try to use Atticus. It's just like it was so laggy, and it's like in browser. So like if say their servers go down for whatever reason, you just can't use it. And it was more expensive, I'm pretty sure, than Scrivener as well. So I was like, the only issue I was having was with the map. I now know a way to like size it up before I like have the complete PDF or whatever for the manuscript to go to print. So I figured out that a different way. Next time I just need to kind of think a bit more about like how I want to size the map basically before I like start making it. If I do another like fantasy map basically, or if I revisit or revise or have someone redo the map for Lyra at some point. Whichever way. I need food. Outside of that, I had a few beta readers start reading through the book. While I was waiting for like the final cover and stuff to come through, which of course I still need to get back with May on the spine. Because once I'm done with my final edits this month, while the campaign's running, I'll be needing to go in there and be like, hey, May, here's the final word count. I need the spine and everything done. And then we should be good. And then I can start ordering copies. Because I would like to have, hopefully I would like to have at least the first printed copy of the book in my hands before the end of the campaign. Because I think that would be great. And I would love that. But yeah. I'm kind of running out of things to talk about. I might just end it here. It's almost 1:30. But yeah, if you have any questions about the campaign or the book at all, feel free to leave a message or a question in the chat or in the comment section, and I will try to figure out what I'm going to be doing for the whole map time-lapse video. If you've watched this entire thing if you've watched this entire VOD, thank you. I know it was a bit long. To be fair, like when I used to stream on Twitch, I would stream for like 8 hours at a time cleaning my room or something, or like playing video games or whatever. So like an hour and a half or whatever isn't too long, but YouTube is also a different beast. So we're just gonna put it around this time, and I think that should be fine. But yeah, I'm very excited for the Kickstarter. I'm very excited to have a book in my hands that is mine, that I wrote. And I'm very excited to start getting more work done on book 2. Right now I'm sitting at about like a little less than 1,600 words, which also isn't a lot, but I'm hoping to have like at least like 10K done by the end of this year. So by December. I'm taking a slightly different approach to writing the second book than I did the first book, just because the first book was all over the place and it took, 10 years to write or longer, maybe. Probably about, I don't know, what's 8th grade to now. But yeah, it's taken a long time, and I just want to make sure that I'm able to like put out book 2 next year, so that you guys aren't waiting another 10 years for book 2 to come out, because that's the last thing that I want to do. But yeah, so I guess I will end the stream here. It was fun talking to a camera, I guess, for an hour. Hopefully, this shed a little bit of light on some of the publishing process and whatnot. If there's anything that I didn't get to, which I'm sure there probably is, again, leave some questions. I will either, comment back with like an answer, or I will answer it in that video that's coming out soon. So thank you for watching, and thank you for backing if you're a backer. Bye.